Yeah, so Agentforce really brings a collection of tools together. So it's different from chatbots and traditional co-pilots, if you will, because in those environments, you're just talking to a large language model. An agent is really meant to leverage a large language model, plus a reasoning engine, plus a RAG architecture. So we're able to build out a lot of memory and build out that prompt in a much larger way for the agent to interact with. So we come in and an agent has multiple tools you can interact with. That really reduces the amount of hallucinations. What a hallucination basically is you go and you talk to a large language model. That model is trained on really picking the next word in a sentence. So based on probability and math, it's picking the next word in a sentence. And sometimes it picks the wrong words, right? And so that's known as a hallucination. What the addition of an agent does is it says, okay, I'm going to pass that into a prompt just like you would in a co-pilot, but I'm going to back that up with a larger prompt with some more information. So it's going to build out a lot of context for that prompt. It also is going to add in a layer of reasoning to say, did that make sense, right? Was that an hallucination? Does that really meet the needs of the query? So you go from having really just one tool to having 4 tools that work together. So really anything that a person could have done through the Salesforce interface in the past. So whether that's resetting a password, handling a complicated return of a product, scheduling an appointment, all those things are possible, through the agent environment. So think about the low-hanging fruit tasks that are repetitive. That's perfectly positioned for an Agentforce agent. So the role of Data Cloud in an Agentforce environment is really giving access to more data. So once we've got more powerful agents, it's really important we empower them with data. So artificial intelligence, generative AI works better when it has access to more data because it can give a better response. Think about in your current business, other systems people need to access sometimes. We call it swivel chair, or maybe there's a warranty system I need to pivot to and take a look at. Maybe there's a lookup around parts that I need to look at. The agent won't be able to do the swivel chair. So Data Cloud can bring that information in. It can bring it in an unstructured way, whether it's a PDF, whether it's another database. But if that person is currently accessing multiple systems, Data Cloud can help give access to those systems so the agent can work autonomously. The first wave of agents, Agentforce, is going to be focused on productivity. If you think about back many years ago when you had your first computer systems, one of the ways that you would interact with a customer service line would probably be to reset a password. And it was pretty common to call in, reset a password, and work through that. Now everything's done self-service, right? So when you just enter your email address, sends your temporary password, you enter it back in again. So that example is going to be applied to many of the very simple tasks that people currently call in for. So if it's a simple lookup of a flight, I travel quite a bit. So, when I call into the airline service desk, oftentimes it's the ability to change a flight. The downside of that is oftentimes it's very large waits. So if I could do that through an intelligent chatbot and get a flight rescheduled, give it very complicated orders around what cities I want to be in for what duration, what times, that's going to elevate my experience. It's also going to allow those agents that maybe were talking to me to move up in their role and to work on higher value things for the organization. One of the reasons that Agentforce is so exciting is that Salesforce has been taking security very seriously for close to 20 years. So all of these building blocks of security are all still representative within Agentforce. So we talk about the security model, we talk about the role hierarchy, we talk about sharing roles and permissions. All those things apply to agents. Now when we bring in additional data into Data Cloud, there's security within that, right? And also the last part is this Einstein trust layer, which is so critical as to how you interact in a co-pilot type of environment, reaching out to a large language model. How is that data scrubbed before it goes out? How do we make sure there's no retention of your client data in that large language model? Happens within that Einstein trust layer. So all these building blocks of security really differentiate the Salesforce offering in Agentforce. And it's difficult for other organizations to catch up because Salesforce has a 10-year advantage on them around how we set up security for agents. So we're going through waves of AI, right? So artificial intelligence has been in Salesforce since 2018. It's been around for a long, long time. So we go through these waves of AI. The one we were in very quickly was the large language model where you're entering into a general prompt. And so one approach that organizations took was, hey, let's build our own language model and let's tune that model where it can answer questions as it's put into it. Unfortunately, that approach often can turn into hallucinations, right? So again, we talked a little bit about how hallucinations happen. And the reason hallucinations happen is because we're not giving enough instruction to that copilot, or that prompt. What agents do is they add in the RAG architecture to increase the size of the prompt to give more context. It adds in reasoning, but it's still leveraging a large language model on the back end. So instead of trying to just build this language model to be perfect, we've got multiple tools working in concert, and that gives you a much higher accuracy, fewer hallucinations, and a better representation of your business and your brand. Agentforce is going to be a huge part of organizations' IT infrastructure going forward. Agentic AI is bigger than Agentforce, and you're going to see that coming from a number of players. They're bringing in these different pieces, the RAG architecture, interacting with a copilot. But as the agents build out, we need to think about them as a critical part of your team and make sure we put in those safeguards to protect your brand. Part of what we do here is go in to look at the business process, look at the risk associated with the importance of that business process, and make sure that the agents are tested appropriately. So low-hanging fruit agents where maybe it's a password reset, pretty simple process we can work through. Really complicated, structured documents, structured interactions with an agent are going to come with more risk. So when we think about that, we want to balance both the importance of the agent with the risk, and we can help lay out that risk profile and understand when an agent is appropriate for a certain role or where a team of agents are appropriate for a certain role. One of the approaches, again, that Salesforce has that's unique is an agent console. So we can actually monitor multiple agents within a certain business process. So in the future, you're going to have maybe a service console that's coming in. We have one group of agents that are responsible for warranty, one group of agents that are responsible for scheduling, another group that are responsible for returns. Those will work seamlessly back and forth, but each one of them will have a different risk profile. And we want to constantly review and iterate through the capabilities of those agents.